today is different. We are going to know history. What do you know about history? Me, I know a lot. But today, we are going to learn about Tinker Bell. Do you know Tinker Bell? If you don't know her, just sit, watch, and listen. Don't forget to subscribe, comment, share, and like. Let's dive into the story. The tiny fairy with a big legacy. Few fairy characters have captured the imagination of audiences around the world quite like Tinker Bell. Small enough to fit in the palm of a hand, yet memorable enough to become a global icon. Tinker Bell has enchanted generations of children and adults alike. Her sparkling wings, magical pixie dust, and spirited personality have made her one of the most recognizable fairies in modern storytelling. But behind the familiar image lies a fascinating history that stretches back more than a century. The story of Tinker Bell begins with Scottish playwright and novelist J.M. Barrie, the creator of Peter Pan. In the early 1900s, Barrie introduced audiences to a magical world where children could fly, pirates sailed dangerous seas, and fairies lived among humans. His play, Peter Pan, or The Boy Who Wouldn't Grow Up, first appeared in 1904 and quickly became a sensation. Among the many unforgettable characters in the story was a tiny fairy named Tinker Bell. Unlike Peter Pan, Captain Hook, or Wendy Darling, Tinker Bell was not a central character in terms of dialogue. In fact, she did not speak human language at all. Instead, she communicated through the sounds of tinkling bells, which only certain characters could understand. This unique form of communication immediately set her apart from other fairy characters in literature. Her name was closely connected to her role. The word tinker referred to a person who repaired household objects such as pots, kettles, and tools. Barrie imagined Tinker Bell as a fairy whose talent involved fixing and creating things. This practical skill distinguished her from traditional fairy queens and magical spirits often found in folklore. To understand Tinker Bell's origins, it is important to explore the fairy traditions that inspired Barrie. Fairies had been part of European folklore for centuries, especially in Celtic regions such as Scotland and Ireland. In many ancient stories, fairies were mysterious, supernatural beings connected to nature, forests, rivers, and hidden worlds. Some were helpful, while others could be mischievous or even dangerous. These folklore fairies were very different from the cheerful, winged creatures often portrayed in modern films. They were often seen as powerful beings that existed alongside humanity but followed their own rules and customs. People sometimes left gifts or offerings to avoid offending them. Fairy tales and legends passed down through generations helped keep these beliefs alive. Barrie drew inspiration from these traditions but adapted them for a children's adventure story. His fairies were smaller, more playful, and easier for young audiences to understand. Yet he retained some traditional elements. Tinker Bell, for example, was known for her strong emotions. She could be loyal and loving one moment, then jealous and impulsive the next. This reflected older folklore, in which fairies were often unpredictable. During early performances of Peter Pan, technology was limited, making it difficult to portray a tiny flying fairy. Instead, Tinkerbell was represented by a moving light that darted across the stage. Her voice was suggested through bells and sound effects. Despite this simple presentation, audiences were fascinated. They imagined her appearance through their own creativity. This mystery added to her magical charm. People could picture her however they wished, making her feel even more enchanting. As Peter Pan became popular, Tinkerbell's fame continued to grow. Readers who encountered her in Barrie's 1911 novel, Peter and Wendy, discovered a character who was far more complex than a typical fairy companion. She was deeply devoted to Peter Pan, but also struggled with jealousy when Wendy entered his life. Her emotional reactions made her feel realistic despite her magical nature. This act of bravery reveals her true character. Beneath her occasional selfishness and temper lies genuine courage and loyalty. It is a powerful reminder that heroes are not perfect. They make mistakes, learn from them, and ultimately choose to do what is right. Perhaps the most famous scene involving Tinkerbell is the moment when her life begins to fade. Peter tells the audience that fairies survive only if people believe in them. He asks everyone to clap if they believe in fairies. As the audience responds, Tinkerbell is revived. This scene became one of the most beloved moments in children's theater history. It transformed spectators into participants, encouraging them to become part of the story. More importantly, it reinforced one of the central themes of Peter Pan, the power of imagination. Belief, wonder, and creativity could bring magic to life. Tinkerbell's popularity reached new heights in 1953 when the Walt Disney Company released its animated adaptation of Peter Pan. Disney artists reimagined her as a tiny blonde fairy wearing a green dress and shimmering wings. Though she still spoke no words, her facial expressions and body language communicated a wide range of emotions. The animated version introduced Tinkerbell to millions of viewers worldwide. Her playful personality, expressive reactions, and sparkling magic made her one of the film's standout characters. Audiences connected with her immediately. She was charming, funny, stubborn, and brave all at once. Over time, Tinkerbell became much more than a supporting character. She evolved into one of Disney's most recognizable symbols. Her image appeared in books, toys, theme parks, and promotional materials. For many people, she became the very embodiment of fairy magic. Yet, her lasting appeal comes from more than her appearance. Tinkerbell represents imagination, creativity, and the belief that even the smallest individual can make a significant difference. Though tiny in size, she often plays a crucial role in the stories she inhabits. Her journey from a flickering stage light to a worldwide cultural icon demonstrates the enduring power of storytelling. More than a century after her creation, Tinkerbell continues to inspire audiences with her courage, determination, and magical spirit. Chapter 2: Adventures in Neverland. Friendship, courage, and magic. Far beyond the ordinary world, beyond the clouds and the stars, lies a magical island known as Neverland. It is a place where children never grow up. Pirates sail dangerous seas, mermaids sing in hidden lagoons, and fairies dance among the flowers. For Peter Pan, Neverland is home. For Tinker Bell, it is the center of her world. It is here that the tiny fairy experiences her greatest adventures and learns some of life's most important lessons about friendship, courage, and the true meaning of loyalty. Tinker Bell may be small, but her presence in Neverland is impossible to ignore. Her bright glow lights the darkness, and her magical pixie dust allows others to fly. Although she often acts confident and fearless, she is also deeply emotional. Unlike many fairy tale characters who are either completely good or completely bad, Tinker Bell is a complex character with strengths and weaknesses. This complexity is one reason why audiences have continued to love her for generations. One evening, Peter Pan flew into the nursery of Wendy Darling and her brothers, John and Michael. After hearing Wendy tell stories, Peter invited the children to accompany him to Neverland. Using Tinker Bell's pixie dust, they soared through the night sky toward the magical island. For Wendy, Neverland was a dream come true. For Tinker Bell, however, Wendy's arrival created unexpected feelings. Tinker Bell had always been one of Peter's closest companions. She admired him, cared about him, and enjoyed sharing adventures with him. When Wendy entered Peter's life, Tinker Bell worried that Peter might pay more attention to the newcomer than to her. These feelings of jealousy became one of Tinker Bell's greatest challenges. Like many people, she struggled with emotions she could not fully control. Her jealousy sometimes caused her to make poor decisions. Yet these moments make her story more realistic and relatable. Even magical fairies experience emotions that humans understand. Tinker Bell's jealousy led her to trick the Lost Boys into believing Wendy was an enemy. Fortunately, the misunderstanding was resolved before permanent harm occurred. Although Tinker Bell regretted her actions, the incident taught an important lesson about the dangers of allowing jealousy to guide decisions. Educationally, this part of the story is significant because it shows children that emotions themselves are not wrong. Everyone experiences jealousy, anger, or frustration at times. What matters is how people respond to those feelings. Tinker Bell's mistakes remind audiences that personal growth often begins with recognizing and correcting one's errors. As Wendy settled into life in Neverland, many exciting adventures unfolded. The island was filled with mysteries waiting to be explored. Dense forests hid secret pathways. Underground hideouts sheltered the Lost Boys. Mermaids gathered near sparkling lagoons, while fairies darted among flowers and trees. Yet Neverland was not entirely peaceful. Its greatest threat came from the notorious pirate captain, Captain Hook. Hook was clever, dangerous, and determined to defeat Peter Pan. Ever since Peter had caused him to lose his hand to a crocodile. Hook had sought revenge. The pirate captain spent countless hours developing plans to capture Peter and destroy his friends. Time after time, however, Peter and Tinker Bell managed to escape his traps through quick thinking and bravery. One of Hook's most dangerous schemes involved a bomb disguised as a gift. Knowing Peter's adventurous nature, Hook hoped that Peter would unknowingly trigger the explosive device. The plan was carefully designed and nearly succeeded. When Tinker Bell discovered the trap, she faced a difficult choice. She could protect herself and stay safe, or she could risk everything to save Peter. Without hesitation, she chose the second option. The tiny fairy rushed to intercept the deadly gift before Peter could open it. The explosion that followed nearly destroyed her. For a moment, it seemed that Tinker Bell might not survive. This event became one of the most emotional moments in the entire Peter Pan story. Tinker Bell's sacrifice demonstrated the depth of her loyalty and friendship. Earlier in the story, jealousy had influenced her behavior. Now, however, she showed extraordinary selflessness. Her actions teach a powerful lesson about friendship. True friendship is not based on always agreeing or never making mistakes. Instead, it is built on trust, forgiveness, and the willingness to help others when they need support. Tinker Bell's courage revealed her true character far more clearly than any words could. After the explosion, Peter Pan explained that fairies depend on belief. According to the story, whenever someone says they do not believe in fairies, a fairy somewhere loses a bit of its life. Peter asked everyone listening to clap their hands if they believed in fairies. Audiences responded enthusiastically, clapping and cheering. As belief spread throughout the theater, Tinker Bell slowly recovered. The moment became legendary and remains one of the most memorable scenes in children's literature and theater. Beyond its magical surface, the scene carries an educational message. It encourages imagination and hope. While fairies may belong to fantasy, the idea behind the scene speaks to real life. Believing in possibilities, maintaining curiosity, and nurturing creativity can have a powerful impact on personal growth and happiness. As the adventures continued, Tinker Bell matured emotionally. Her experiences with Wendy helped her understand that friendship is not a competition. Caring for one friend does not mean caring less for another. Over time, she learned to accept Wendy as part of Peter's circle rather than viewing her as a rival. This growth reflects one of the story's most valuable lessons. Relationships become stronger when people choose understanding over jealousy and cooperation over conflict. Tinker Bell's journey demonstrates that personal growth often comes through challenges and difficult experiences. Neverland itself serves as a symbol of imagination and childhood wonder. Every part of the island represents an aspect of adventure. The pirates symbolize danger and excitement. The Lost Boys represent freedom and friendship. The mermaids embody mystery and curiosity. The fairies remind audiences of creativity and belief. Within this magical world, Tinker Bell emerges as much more than Peter Pan's companion. She becomes a symbol of courage, resilience, and emotional growth. Her story shows that even the smallest individual can have a tremendous impact. By the end of her adventures in Neverland, Tinkerbell has transformed from a jealous fairy worried about losing a friend into a courageous hero willing to sacrifice everything for those she loves. Her journey teaches timeless lessons about friendship, forgiveness, and bravery.